Today I want to talk to you about properly interpreting your dreams. And by properly amplifying your dreams, interpreting your dreams, what I mean is not only interpreting your dreams from your own personal associations, but more importantly, amplifying your dream from the point of view of what the soul is saying about itself in the dream, especially if the dream is archetypal. You know, you have big visions, or sometimes it can happen in, for instance, when you're an artist or a poet, you have come up with an image that is, for instance, images of a tree or a fire or a mountain or a cave. These are all archetypal images. And it's no good to try to interpret this only from the point of view of what you think about the dream means. You know, I'll give you an example. Someone had a dream that they saw a fire in the center of an old courtyard. There was a big fire burning. And she said that to her the dream meant that when she was a kid, she was burned by a fire, and this is a warning that she might be hurt again. Well, maybe. But to me, it is an archetypal image. This is the center. You know, in the center of the courtyard burns the holy flame. Like in the center of a church, of a Christian church, there's always a lamp or a holy flame. So this is, a flame is a symbol of the archetypal of the spirit. Now, why flame, for instance? A flame because the flame has the ability to live by itself. You know, once you start a fire and it flickers, it grows by itself. It has a life of its own. You know, it's mysterious that way. Fire is probably one of the oldest symbols of the spirit, of the self that we know. It also is archetypal. It's also important in such a sense that a fire illuminates what was there in the dark, is in the unconscious, is suddenly made conscious. You are aware of what you're being shown instantly. It's the same thing when you turn on a light globe and it illuminates the room. Sorry about the bird. He's always like this when I'm doing a video. Otherwise, he's quiet. So when you turn on the light globe, it illuminates the room and you can see instantly what's inside the room. It reveals itself to you. And this is your intuition. You see? Because you can liken the fire also to the illuminating fire of lightning. A thunderbolt, lightning. You know, it suddenly just goes bang. It illuminates something what was there in the night, in the middle of the dark. So it's the unconscious being made conscious. Now, why I wanted to talk to you about the proper interpreting of the dreams is that I see all over the social media there are huge. There are many dream groups. Some of them got really a lot of people in them, and people are interpreting dreams pretty much solely just from what they associate the symbol or the dream to mean to them personally. And then they complain that they have the same dream in the same way, it sort of repeats itself over and over, and they interpret it again only from personal associations, neglecting whatever the dream or what the soul is trying to say in the dream, so they didn't get the message in the first place. And so the dream repeats itself. It's gonna repeat itself until you get the message. And you get the message not by just only interpreting, oh, this means to me so and so and so. I had a dream about a tree and it was a flowering tree. So it means that, you know, my plum tree is gonna have a lot of plums this year. Well, maybe it will, or maybe it won't. But usually what it means, you know, a tree is an archetypal symbol. That is, it means that it belongs to all of humanity. It's a symbol that we have named all of humanity, all of cultures name as a specific meaning. And I'll give you a few examples of how to interpret dreams in a minute. So a tree, you know, in every culture you will come across a holy tree. Whether it be the Christian culture, you got the holy tree, you know, you got the cross, there's your holy tree. In ancient Greek culture, there was the holy tree. There were lots of holy trees, but you know, one of the better known is probably the oracle of Dodona, which was Zeus's oracle, and it was filled with oak trees. You know, and an oak tree in old Celtic culture is a very important symbol because oak is timeless. It is a huge tree. You know, if you ever seen an oak, it's got really old gnarled branches spreading everywhere. But what's important about a tree is that it has an above half and a below half. The below half is the tree roots. And it is we have in ancient times we believed that the underworld or heaven is below, in the invisible part of the earth. So that was the afterlife, and above is this visible life. So the tree, again, like the fire, it mediates between two dimensions: the dimension of the human and the dimension of the gods, of the spirit. So that's why trees is important. And in shamanic traditions, in North American Indian traditions, for instance, and so on, the tree was always seen as a cosmic axis mundi. And shaman, they would climb the tree up to its apex. And it's at the apex, at the center, where the initiations always took place. And I'll give you an example about this initiation from a dream by a young North American Indian called Black Elk, and he had this vision at 9 years old. There's a lot of talk in psychology that you have to be mature, really mature, an adult, before you can have visions. Well, it's not true. You can be quite young, like Black Elk, who was only 9 years old. And like others, you know, myself, I had visions at 12 years old. You will have the visions. You might not have the capacity to understand the visions or the ability to implement them into your everyday life because you're still under the protection of your parents and so on. But you can have visions. A lot of kids have visions, but of course nowadays parents don't believe the child's visions because we're such a rational culture now. We're civilized. We don't believe in visions anymore. Anyway, so I'll give you an example of how to interpret the dream from Black Elk's vision, and then I'll give you another example of a woman that had a vision of her own. So Black Elk was 9 years old, and he had this great vision. And at the end of the vision, it's a really long sequence of events, but this is how it ends. This is how it culminates. And so he is traveling to the top of a mountain. The holy mountains for the North American Sioux, that was his tribe, were the Black Hills. So he managed to climb all the way to the top of the mountain, and there he is, and he said, I can see things more than I can name. He was seeing the world in spirit. And he said, I can see one great big flowering tree of one mother and one father. Around the tree were spread the hoops of all the different tribes, of all the different cultures as one hoop, as one nation, one people, the unity of all life around the spirit. This is the center, the most inward center in your psyche, in my psyche, in anyone's psyche. This is the cosmic axis. You are that cosmic axis. You know, you are that divine, the God incarnate, you know, the unique embodiment of the spirit that created the universe and everything else. It's not something separate from you. You are divine. And so, you know, black elk at age of 9. He had this vision of unity of all life around the world tree, the cosmic axis. Cosmic axis. This is the image of the soul. So the way you interpret this is, there are two steps. The first step would be because it's tinted with his own tradition. That is to say, he was climbing the Black Hills. That is part of his own tradition. But the mountain, the symbol of climbing on the mountain, belongs to all of humanity. It's not just North American Indian or particular to the Sioux tradition. You can find it in the holy mountains in ancient Mexico. You find it in ancient Iran and Slavic traditions, Celtic traditions. You've got in ancient Greece. You've got the gods living on Mount Olympus. At the apex of Mount Olympus. So the mountain, the holy mountain, is a cosmic axis, and it is found in all cultures, no exceptions. Now, the other, personal association or traditional, tinted with tradition, part of his vision is that the tribes, the hoops of the tribes, there were different tribes, there were Indian tribes, but in reality, that just means that all the different people are just one people, one humanity. So that there's the traditional tinting, the personal tinting, your personal associations, and the collective. Not what you think the dream means, but what the soul is really saying about itself. So that's really important to say. Because if you don't get that right, you're gonna keep having the same dream over and over and over again until you get the message right, and then you implement this dream, this message that the soul is trying to communicate to you into your everyday life. Another example I'll give you is a young woman, and she has this dream. She's walking in a rural landscape. It's like a desert landscape, and she's walking by herself. She comes across a small tree, which is really a bush, and the bush is on fire. The tree is on fire. So there's the tree again, see? And there's the fire. And she stopped and looked at the tree, at the burning bush, and she admired it, but she didn't really think much of it. It kept on going. What's important to stress here, she said that the bush was on fire, but it wasn't consuming itself. It wasn't burning. It was just the fire seemed cold. She kept on walking. She came up to a mountain, and the mountain slope was made out of sand. So she was climbing this mountain slope, and climbing was a very difficult climb. It took a long time, and she eventually ended up crawling on all fours to the apex of the mountain. And the apex of the mountain turned out to be a volcano, extinguished volcano. And then when she climbed to the top, she saw people, all different races and colors and nations, all holding hands together, turned towards the center of the mountain. Now, here again we've got two dimensions. There's the personal association, the tradition, and the collective. So the tradition, because she was born as a Christian, a Catholic, you have the image of the burning bush. That's from the Old Testament, you see? When we have the story of Moses, and Moses talking to God and receiving the tablets, the Ten Commandments, he was talking to an angel that was talking to him through the burning bush. So there's the personal association, and then, but the bush, the fire, the flame, the holy flame, the tree, the bush, they're not just particular to Christian tradition, but they can be found all over the world. Like I said, traditions. And of course, the mountain, like I said too, you got the mountains, the holy mountains. There's the holy mountain in Hindu tradition where Shiva has his home together with his wife Lakshmi. This is the cosmic axis. and ancient Greek gods all live at the top of the apex of Olympus, which is a holy mountain for the ancient Greeks. So there she was climbing onto that mountain, and it turned out to be an extinguished volcano. Now, extinguished volcano means that your emotions, your projections have been extinguished. So that now you can take your whole focus, your energy flows inwards to your inner life. And that's when she started to have the dream. That's when she started to have the journey, inward journey. And what she was shown at the top of the mountain was exactly the same thing as what Black Elk was shown, the unity of all humanity. You know, we are holy, divine beings. Each one of us is an incarnation of God or Goddess, the most holy creative power of the universe. In fact, you are a unique embodiment of the consciousness of the universe. You know, you're the spirit power that created everything. You're a unique embodiment of that. Each one of us is. You know, you're God, whether you want to call it Yahweh, you want to call it God the Father, you want to call it Jesus or Shiva or Allah or, you know, whatever name you like. These are the patriarchal names. There are lots of other names that we can think of now. You know, in the modern times, we can call it quantum field. Energy consciousness that enlivens the universe and all life. Simply energy. You know, so that's what I wanted to tell you, speak a little bit about today, is the importance of amplifying your dreams, not only from personal associations. Oh, the tree is flowering, I'm gonna have lots of apples this year. Oh, I saw the flame in the middle of the courtyard, it means my house is gonna burn down or I'm gonna be hurt in some way. You have to always go into mythology, into the symbols, into the language of the soul. If you don't do that, you're not going to get the message. That's why the dreams repeat themselves. They will repeat themselves. The soul will repeat the dream to you as many times as necessary until you get the message. And when you get the message, you will have to implement it into your everyday life. And that's when transformation comes. You no longer live just, as a mortal human. You're just another number in our society. You realize that you are indeed a God. You know, you're the thing. You're it. This place on our planet is it. There's nowhere that you have to go after dying to be, you know, reunited with God. You are that Jesus or that Christ that your religion keeps on banging your head with the Bible about. You see? So that's important to understand. Another thing I wanted to mention is that if you don't have the inclination to study mythology or study the language, to understand the mythological meaning of your own visions and dreams, you're going to have to find someone that does. And these days, this is harder than it seems. In fact, I don't know too many people that understand this language so well. There used to be a few, but there's less and less people. That's why there's the emphasis really on just interpreting your visions and your dreams from the personal perspective, because that's what people know. No one really knows how to understand the language of the soul anymore. These symbolic images, water, tree, cave, bird, hedgehog, snake, frog. Frog is a really ancient symbol. So it's a timeless symbol. It goes back all the way to the Paleolithic and even before, because frog lives both on water and on land. You see? So it's that threshold between the two dimensions. As is a cave, as is a spiral. So you got to understand these images, and that's when they start to make sense. That's when you can start actually to move forward in life. Otherwise, it will just be repeating itself over and over. You'll be jumping from one dream group to another dream group to another dream group, and you're never gonna get the message. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, that it's really important that yes, personal associations are fine up to a point, but if you really want to move forward in life, you need to do it from understand the dream from the point of view of the soul, not what you think it says about the dream, but what the soul, what the dream is actually saying about itself, about the dream. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.